they are at the moment facing a real crisis. Meghan and Harry's crisis, completely of their own making, is they have no major projects, no major money earners. And so they're more desperate than ever.
Meghan herself.
And Meghan herself.
In the months before she met Harry, was setting up.
Tom Bower just dropped a claim about Meghan Markle's 2026 financial crisis, and it's the kind of detail her PR team definitely wouldn't want spreading around. Reports talk about $23 million worth of unsold jam sitting in storage, the Archewell Foundation being listed as delinquent in California records.
The implosion of the Sussexes. Meghan Markle's Archewell charity scam and as ever lies have finally been exposed, and an astonishing double blow for the fake.
A Netflix show that allegedly landed around 1,217 in the platform rankings, and a public image that once promised billionaire-level success. Tom Bower has built a reputation for digging deep into stories like this, and now people are paying attention to what he's saying about where everything could be heading. Some analysts believe the situation surrounding Harry and Meghan may be entering a rough phase, and the discussion around it is only getting louder. Here's the part many people miss. Some viewers look at Harry and Meghan and think, they're still wealthy, so what's the big issue? But Bower's argument isn't only about money.
Absolutely, but don't even believe that there were 5 options. What you really saw were Harry's and Meghan's fantasy narrative, which they call the truth.
He claims it's about a slow unraveling of a carefully built brand, something he predicted years ago that, according to critics, is now unfolding in plain sight. Bower reportedly spent years researching the couple. He spoke with over 80 sources, including former staff, royal insiders, and Hollywood figures. The portrait he paints is dramatic, a story of bold ambition meeting the unforgiving reality of business and public expectations.
She is hoping that she's going to become a billionaire off all of this, which again is total insanity. I think the woman's expectations are so unrealistic.
This is the same woman who stepped away from one of the most powerful royal institutions in the world, secured a $100 million Netflix deal, launched a lifestyle brand, and created a charity platform while telling the public she planned to make a huge impact. Now Bower claims the numbers, the documents, and the timeline tell a much different story, and he says he has the receipts to prove it. Let's start with the Archewell Foundation, because Tom Bower says this is where the most revealing part of the story really sits. When Harry and Meghan launched Archewell back in 2020, the message sounded powerful and inspiring. They described it as a humanitarian mission, a project named after their son, Archie, designed to promote compassion, service, and positive change around the world.
Their problem is that they've got no future. I mean, as ever, all her products, of course, is a complete disaster. She's got no Netflix series. She hasn't got any project at all. And they are literally wallowing in in a maze where to go. And so predictably.
That was the public story everyone heard. But Tom Bower lays out a very different version of events. According to Bower, and according to the Foundation's publicly filed 990 tax documents, which anyone can check, he argues the numbers tell a story that raises serious questions about how the organization actually operated. Here's what those filings show. In 2021, Archewell reportedly received about $13 million in donations, which became the Foundation's strongest financial year.
Are they insane? What is happening? There is complete and utter chaos going on. The Meg and Harold are taking their rebrands far too literally at this point. Archewell, their charity effort, has not only changed its name from a foundation to philanthropies, which is even worse branding, I might add.
That was also the period when major media deals were being announced and public attention around the couple was at its highest. But the numbers began shifting fast. By 2024, reported donations had dropped to about $2.1 million, down sharply from $5.3 million the previous year.
Money is officially drying up for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. As more and more news of the dissolution of Archewell Foundation comes forward, it's very, very clear that this restructuring is due to a lack of one very, very key thing, which is money. In fact, Harry and Meghan sold themselves to a dinner table at $100,000 a pop to raise money for Archewell.
At the same time, total expenses for that year reached roughly $5.1 million. When people look at those figures side by side, the gap immediately stands out.
There's been leaked financial details from the Archewell Foundation that's quite fascinating because it shows that there's two donors who've given one of them 15 million and one 3 million.
But Harry doesn't want to know any of that truth. That's the trouble with Harry. He just likes, because in his simple way, the paparazzi murdered my mother. Well, it wasn't as simple as that at all. Then
comes the detail Bauer says raises the biggest eyebrows. Out of that $5.1 million in spending, roughly $1.25 million reportedly went toward charitable grants and programs. The remaining funds, nearly $4 million, were listed for things like salaries, security costs, travel, and administrative expenses. Reports suggest security alone could run close to $2 million a year, and critics say that is a huge amount flowing through a charity structure. Tom Bauer's argument is blunt. He claims Archewell was never set up like a traditional philanthropy at all.
And I predicted it in the book, but even I would not have thought it'd be that accelerated. I think personally, they've separated their professional lives, but I think what's really a great problem for them now, as of in the last few weeks, is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem. And I think as of this week, the signal for her great problem.
Instead, he believes it functioned more like a financial vehicle connected to the couple's larger business deals, helping manage income from entertainment and publishing projects. Now, to be clear, structures like that are not unusual in the United States, and many wealthy figures use foundations in similar ways. But Bauer insists the Archewell situation stands out, and he says the reasons for that only become clearer when you look at everything else happening around the same time. And this is where Tom Bauer says things start getting really revealing. At its peak, the Archewell Foundation reportedly had just 5 employees running the operation. By the end of 2024, that number had dropped to only 2.
The Channel 5 investigation as to the state of the Sussex's finances. Now, we know they didn't move to a 2-bedroom cottage somewhere in the middle of nowhere. They're living in quite a large mansion in Montecito. And one of the things that Prince Harry made very public when he left the royal family, one of the things that he was quite disgruntled about was the fact that his father basically cut him off financially. So really, they were in a state where they had to make a lot of money and a lot of money fast. He blundered in a video and said, the Netflix deal was an idea that was pitched.
3 staff members were let go during what was described publicly as a rebrand, meaning around 60% of the entire team disappeared almost overnight. Some former staff were reportedly told the charity itself might be shutting down. Then suddenly, Meghan's team stepped in and walked that claim back. Around the same time, the Archewell website quietly went offline during the transition to what was called Archewell Philanthropies. To critics watching closely, the situation looked confusing and messy. Tom Bauer says this kind of situation fits a pattern he has talked about before.
Years ago, we were talking about Meghan Markle running for president. And what a decline, how irrelevant they've become today. Do the Sussexes still pose an institutional risk, or are they now culturally sidelined?
An institutional risk to the British monarchy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. A huge risk.
Really?
Absolutely, because there's no doubt as they become more desperate.
According to him, when problems appear, the story often shifts, websites vanish, and a spokesperson appears with a new explanation while hoping the public doesn't look too closely. But this time people were definitely paying attention. Then came an official warning that made headlines. The state of California issued a delinquency notice stating that Archewell had failed to file certain required documents properly. Because of that, the organization was technically not allowed to raise or distribute funds until the paperwork issue was corrected. For a charity presenting itself as a global humanitarian effort, critics say that kind of notice is not just a small paperwork mistake. It sends up a bright warning signal that something behind the scenes might not be running smoothly.
Extraordinary that the non-disclosure agreements are so draconian, so watertight, that nobody dares sell their story. That is what's quite astonishingly clever of Meghan and her lawyers, to protect their reputation and all the dreadful things that have happened in Montecito behind the high walls. But my book reveals a bit more about that, my future book. But that's a teaser.
Now shift the focus to As Ever, because if Archewell looks like a slow financial stumble, Bauer argues this brand launch looked more like a dramatic business misfire. He warned from the start that Meghan's commercial strategy might rely more on image and hype than on solid business planning. When As Ever launched in April 2024, headlines exploded with excitement. Many reports claimed, Meghan's jam sells out in hours. The publicity wave worked perfectly, but then something strange happened. Online shoppers discovered that by adding huge quantities of products into the As Ever shopping cart, the website would reveal the actual inventory numbers behind the scenes, and what they found shocked a lot of people. Now here's the number that made people stop and stare. Reports claim Meghan Markle could be sitting on around $23 million worth of unsold products tied to the As Ever brand. That's a massive amount of inventory stacked in storage warehouses. According to the figures being circulated, there could be 137,455 fruit spread gift boxes still sitting on shelves.
I think the problem with Meghan is that she never actually says anything in interviews. It is so carefully controlled, so carefully chosen what she's going to say that she says really pretty well nothing. Now, is it because she's got nothing to say, or is it because she is fearful that if she did move off the benign script, she would actually get into real trouble? I think it's the latter. She's clever enough to know that to retain her mystery and status, she should reveal nothing about herself.
Just revealed how catastrophically bad things are going for Harry and Meghan. Archewell is essentially done. Any aspect of their charity has essentially collapsed completely, and it's been revealed for what it really always was, which is a publicity stunt. They were completely and utterly willing to throw aside the people they were supposed to help, and now we have the situation where it's all their art. It's just artifice. It's just there for show, and Harry and Meghan just don't have a lot of hope going into 2026.
And the recent sales numbers, some critics point to look tiny in comparison. In one reported 24-hour period, only 26 units were sold. At that pace, some observers say it could take years to clear that inventory, especially since these products are food items that come with expiration dates. And the jam boxes are only part of it.
Want to get into the details of this, Brittany, because the details here matter, given that everything Harry and Meghan do is topspin, trying to convince the world, and very often the mainstream media are sucked in, that everything's okay, but it's really not. And the first revelation in regards to Archewell is that the charity is down to just 2 staffers.
Not Harry and Meghan, and she didn't want to play second fiddle.
That is so true.
Reports claim there are also 44,000 jars of orange marmalade.
They are using Archewell to fund their lifestyle, not to change the world, because the security bill alone said to be around $2 million a year, with money flowing out of the charity. So Archewell actually recorded total expenses of $5.1 million, according to its latest 990 form. Salaries for 2024 were listed at $913,000. Expenses were up 54% year on year, soaring from $3.3 million.
Around 62,000 candles and nearly 80,000 packs of decorative flower sprinkles that still need buyers. Critics say that's a lot of product waiting for demand that hasn't fully appeared yet. Tom Bauer's explanation for this situation is blunt. He argues the original sold-out headlines may have been created through a very small launch window.
Other expenses recorded at $2.9 million. Meanwhile, donations and grants to the group dipped from $5.3 million in 2023 to $2.1 million in 2024. Insiders skeptical of how Archewell, which doled out $1.25 million in grants in 2024, can continue. The source said if they're shooting out grants, then that's a net loss, and they're not bringing in that much money.
According to his theory, only a limited batch, possibly just a few hundred items, was released at first, just enough to spark excitement and trigger headlines claiming instant success. Those headlines then helped build the image of huge demand. But Bauer believes curiosity doesn't automatically turn into long-term customer loyalty. Many people may try something once, especially when it's trending online, but repeat buyers are what truly keep a product alive. Some online reviewers were not impressed either. One person compared the taste to Smuckers at $36 a jar. Harsh criticism like that can spread quickly across social media.
I believe it is clear exposure of what Archewell really is. A PR project, nothing more. It's disgusting.
It really is, Dan. And one of the things is that Harry and Meghan have always said service is universal. They're going to be doing charity in the States and all these things. And it's just completely and utterly false. It was just a lie from the very face of it. And we've seen this endlessly. Meghan praises herself constantly for being this great humanitarian. But when you really think about it, what has she done? I mean, even before she married Harry, she was part of World Vision.
Then there's the Netflix factor. Netflix is reportedly connected to the As Ever brand in a limited way, but Tom Bower claims the company hasn't committed major resources to it. According to him, the platform appears cautious about putting serious money behind a product line that still looks speculative. Bower even uses a phrase to describe what he believes is happening with Harry and Meghan's larger Netflix partnership right now. Slow ghosting. The $100 million deal that once looked like it would turn them into huge global content creators now seems far quieter than expected. For example, the show With Love, Meghan was not renewed for a third season. Bower also points out something else interesting. He argues there wasn't truly a full second season at all. Instead, it was essentially one season divided into two parts, and the viewing numbers behind it tell a very different story than the early headlines suggested. The viewing numbers created another wave of criticism. Reports claim With Love, Meghan ranked around 1,217 on Netflix, while the holiday special reportedly landed even lower, somewhere near 1,500 in the rankings. For someone with enormous global attention, a major streaming platform, and a deal rumored to be worth close to $100 million, critics say those numbers looked surprisingly weak. Tom Bower's explanation is sharp and controversial. He argues Meghan struggled to offer something viewers felt was fresh or authentic.
I find really abhorrent. Actually.
Well, I go further than that. I mean, all those things can be excused as youth and all the rest of it. But the support of Meghan in her full story about the conversation, which was banter, and I know that from first hand, and was really inconsequential, to support that was his act of folly, because he was already a grown man at that stage. He knew the consequence of it. It was pretty gross.
The problem lies is the fact that Harry and Meghan, when they do have a camera in front of them and when they are in a position to communicate with the public, they're not promoting that charity. They're typically complaining about what's going on in their lives or what happened 4 years ago. So people don't know that there's an opportunity there to collaborate with them and make the world a better place with their charity.
According to him, the content often appeared overly controlled and carefully staged, which made it difficult for audiences to connect with it. Bower says Meghan seemed determined to position herself as a lifestyle icon similar to Martha Stewart, but critics claim the final product sometimes looked far less impressive. One moment that circulated online showed simple snack preparation, moving pretzels from one container to another, which sparked jokes across social media. Several production insiders reportedly told Bower that Meghan was extremely focused on how she appeared on camera. According to those accounts, a lot of attention went into lighting, angles, and styling. Critics believe that level of control sometimes removed the relaxed feeling lifestyle shows usually depend on.
Haven't been back since. Why wouldn't you nurture that popularity? It's nothing they do makes sense to me.
We come to Was Never, as Lady Colin Campbell has christened Meghan Markle's lifestyle business. Now, Brittany, you have been on this right from the start. It has been obvious that this business is a disaster. So much of the smoke and mirrors in the early days of the launch of that business was connected to the scarcity strategy, which meant that virtually no product was put on sale, right? So that it would sell out. And so that she got the good headlines, or what she thought was the good headlines. But now, the true extent of the stock available for As Ever has been revealed.
In Bower's view, the final result felt less like a natural cooking or lifestyle show, and more like a performance carefully designed for the camera. Some viewers noticed details like perfectly styled hair and polished presentation, when they expected something more casual and authentic.
Will it take Meghan Markle 9 years to get through her signature fruit spread gift box stock? That's seemingly what the math says, as an error in her As Ever website allows customers to not only see the entire amount in stock, but purchase them to the tune of over $5 million. This gives the greatest insight to the failure of As Ever so far, and the continued failure of Meghan Markle to manage products, websites, and brands, as this kind of information should never be publicly available.
Bauer also claims Netflix executives began realizing fairly early that the content might not become the breakout hit they hoped for. According to him, the platform may have initially stayed patient because they expected larger projects down the road, possibly a major royal documentary or a deeply personal interview series. Instead, what audiences mostly saw were lifestyle segments focused on things like flower arranging, hosting tips, and specialty food products. Bauer describes Netflix's current position with one striking phrase: slow ghosting.
This is just a small snapshot and not an overall indicator. It seems to confirm what many have suspected. Meghan Markle's As Ever gamble was a time suck and a money drain. It just seems that the audience for the products is rather small, and massively overstocking seems to indicate a lack of market research and overconfidence that will result in product waste. Only time will tell how long this company will last, and then you have quite rightly given credit to Saint Meghan Markle subreddit and the user KikiLove777 for discovering this obvious error in the website. Brittany, this is disastrous. This is catastrophic. It proves what you have been saying for some time, that As Ever is a flop, is a disaster. But the fact that this has been allowed to happen, Brittany, shows you what a shoddy, substandard, amateur hour business Meghan is running.
In his view, the remaining first look agreement may simply allow the company to quietly step back without making a dramatic public announcement. In the entertainment world, that can sometimes look like the professional version of not returning someone's calls. While these media and business questions were unfolding in California, another dramatic moment was happening across the Atlantic. Prince Harry appeared in a London courtroom, testifying in his lawsuit against the Daily Mail over alleged phone hacking between 2001 and 2013, years before Meghan entered his life.
Really does. I was shocked, Dan. Like when I first initially saw this post on X about it, I was like, no, there's just no way, because there's so much misinformation out there about Harry and Meghan in some ways. But then I was actually putting the numbers in, and you're getting stock counts. And I'm like, you should never, ever see that on a website. And in case, unless they have like one or two left, they will let you know that. But to have potentially 37,000 fruit spreads sitting out there is astronomically bad. And to move them so slowly, again, this was just anecdotal, is insane. And to think that the website is so poorly constructed that you can see any of this information, again, just proves how poorly managed this business is, how much of a terrible businesswoman Meghan Markle is, and how much she didn't put any forethought into this and how little it's moved.
But during the testimony, the hearing took an emotional turn. Harry became visibly upset and said, "They've made my wife's life an absolute misery." That moment quickly spread across headlines, adding even more tension to an already intense public story. And here's the detail that made many observers raise their eyebrows. During that testimony, Harry was speaking emotionally about his wife, even though the case itself focuses on events that allegedly happened years before he ever met Meghan. Tom Bauer's interpretation is blunt. He believes Harry has become so deeply influenced by Meghan's narrative that even when discussing events from his own past, the conversation still circles back to her. Critics say that dynamic became very visible during the courtroom exchange. Then things became even more tense.
I'm hearing that they have huge financial problems. That they are eating into capital, and that they sort of, to an extent, been for much of their marriage into some capital, and also he doesn't have that amount of money. People seem to think that because he's the king's son, he's rolling in money. He never was. I mean, in terms of Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, he's poverty-stricken, but they don't. They have financial problems. And a part of those financial problems are that Netflix is not funding the manufacture of the produce. The way Harry and Meghan presented the deal was that they would be partners with Netflix.
According to reports from the hearing, the judge had to step in 3 separate times. Each time, Harry was told to stop arguing with the opposing lawyer and simply answer the questions being asked. Imagine that moment for a second. A High Court judge repeatedly reminding a royal prince to stay calm and follow courtroom procedure.
The hope was that Netflix would fund, and the fact is that Netflix's funding was very limited for the first line of what was never produced, and because they were not prepared to put up good money on something that was so highly speculative. And the proof of the pudding, Dan, is in the eating of the figures, because according to Meghan, the line was sold out within 45 minutes. That tells you that the produce was in the low thousands. Several years ago, Arnold Scarcity, the great American Canadian couturier, put me in touch with QVC to do a jewelry line. And I spoke to the head of QVC about it.
While all of this unfolded in London, Meghan was reportedly back in California, active on social media the same day the testimony made headlines. Critics quickly pointed out the contrast. On one side, Harry appeared emotional on the witness stand. On the other, Meghan's online presence looked calm and carefully curated. Tom Bower has argued for years that Harry ultimately made his own decisions, but he believes this moment captured the public dynamic around the couple perfectly.
What happens in situations like that is that you have to fund the merchandise, which has to be at, they figure, well, it might sell 30,000. So you might then say, well, we'll buy in 25,000. So the stock has to be there for when the merchant is merching the merchandise on the television or on Netflix or wherever it's going to drop.
The image of Harry becoming emotional in a London courtroom while Meghan continued posting online became a symbol critics say doesn't reflect well on either of them. And the stakes in that lawsuit could be massive. If Harry were to lose the case, legal analysts say the total legal costs could climb into the tens of millions of pounds. That's a serious financial risk, especially at a time when other income streams appear uncertain. This brings us to Bower's bigger prediction about where everything might be heading. He believes the couple's financial situation could become extremely difficult if their current spending continues. According to Bower, maintaining their lifestyle could require between $400 million and $600 million in long-term capital. Harry's personal wealth is often estimated somewhere around $35 to $40 million. That's still a large amount of money, of course. But critics argue it may not be enough to sustain the level of security, staff, travel, and property expenses tied to their current life. Meanwhile, several of their major projects have slowed down.
Prince Harry broke down in big boy tears as he gave some testimony today in his lawsuit against the Daily Mail, claiming that they have made his wife's life an absolute misery. Well, Harry, I'm sorry. Why does that have any bearing on this case at all? You're talking about articles that were written between 2001 and 2013, 3 years before you allegedly met your wife. So what does Meghan have anything to do with this trial? Well, as the answer turns out, it has everything to do with Prince Harry's motivation and his miserable existence right now, because his wife is miserable, she's making his life miserable, and everybody's living in absolute misery.
Netflix activity appears quieter than expected. The As Ever brand reportedly holds millions in unsold inventory. Archewell has faced operational questions, and Spotify ended its partnership years ago. When you line up all those developments together, Bower says the bigger picture starts looking far more complicated than the glossy headlines once suggested. Another story that raised eyebrows involved a reported fundraising dinner tied to Archewell, where access to sit at the table was said to cost around $100,000 per seat.
I've never believed that my life is open season to be commercialized by these people. To act in the public interest is to interest the public. I fundamentally reject that. Having my life, like others, commercialized in this way since I was a teenager, delving into every aspect of my private life, listening to calls, blagging flights so they could see where I was going. It was a time when everyone was in competition with each other.
Critics quickly jumped on that detail. Tom Bower argues that moves like this reveal how much pressure may exist behind the scenes. His view is simple and blunt. If a public brand reaches the point where people are paying huge amounts just for proximity to the personalities behind it, Bower believes it suggests the brand itself may already be losing its natural momentum. Then there's the ongoing battle over security in the United Kingdom. Harry has been pushing hard for taxpayer-funded protection while visiting Britain, arguing it is necessary for safety reasons. But Tom Bower believes the situation may also carry another layer.
Did he actually donate to Archewell through this charity buzz thing to sit at the table with Harry and Meghan so Meghan had a buffer and he could get a tax write-off? I don't know how much money he makes, but that's just a funny idea. But this is a couple who had everything and they seemingly have squandered it.
According to Bower, the security fight could also be about regaining relevance inside the UK, potentially reopening communication with the royal establishment and King Charles. And Bower has made another controversial claim as well. He believes the motivation behind a possible reconciliation might involve financial stability as much as family relationships. Reports suggest King Charles has not changed his position. According to royal commentators, the king has remained firm that public funds will not be used to support Harry's personal arrangements. Even when Harry mentioned "my father's grandchildren" during courtroom discussions, analysts say the palace stance reportedly remained unchanged. Bower also warns that the current moment could be a sensitive one for the royal family. In his view, when public figures lose major income streams, the temptation grows to monetize whatever attention or connections remain. That can include speaking events, interviews, documentaries, or future books, all of which still draw public interest largely because of their royal ties. And that leads to one of the most repeated statements Bower has made over the years. He once said, "You cannot build a lasting brand entirely on victimhood."
I mean, an institutional risk to the British monarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. A huge risk.
Really?
Absolutely. Because there's no doubt as they become more desperate financially and reputationally and seeking a purpose, they will do some very foolish things. And whatever Andrew has done, they will double the problem because they will not be controllable from London. So I do think that after Andrew, Charles and William do have this problem with the Montecito royals. Yeah.
According to him, audiences eventually move on. Not always with anger, but with something far worse for public figures: indifference. Bower believes that shift may already be happening by 2026. The outrage that once dominated headlines has cooled, and the intense fascination that surrounded the couple for years appears to be fading. What critics say remains is a strange snapshot of the moment. A lifestyle brand reportedly holding over 137,000 unsold jars of fruit spread, a prince becoming emotional in a London courtroom during a case unrelated to his wife, and a charitable organisation that at one point faced an official delinquency notice from the state of California. For Tom Bower, the story he has been telling for years is now being reflected in public records, court transcripts, and business results. In his view, those details are slowly writing the final chapter themselves. If this story shocked you, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. There's a lot more happening behind the headlines, and we're going to keep digging into it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below.